Boxing Doc.
I thought it was a classic hometown decision. I thought Kovalev won the fight.
How'd you score it?
I didn't score it. I thought it was 7-5. For Kovalev with the knockdown, if it was a 6-6, he still wins the fight. They scored it 7-5 for Ward.
I got into the ring, Sergey looks at me and he's kind of like, do you think we won? Do you think we won? Do you think we won? And I kind of like, yeah, of course we won the fight. What you...
Overall thoughts on the decision, not a popular one here in Vegas for some of the people here on press row.
I don't score fights, so I don't compile a round-by-round number, and therefore I can't tell you what my score would have been round by round in the fight. It was my instinct to think that Kovalev won it. Kovalev had a knockdown, hard to figure out how he lost the fight.
And there we have it. Boxing family. It was my instinct to think that Kovalev had won the fight. He had a knockdown. It's hard to imagine how he lost the fight. I don't score rounds. I don't score fights. I had it 7-5, maybe 6-6, but even then, Kovalev still wins. He came to my corner and asked me, do you think we won the fight? Guys, these audio clips here, I want you to draw your own inferences from them. Now, I know I'm making a video about them and I'm obviously trying to convince you of something, but do your own critical thinking and tell me what you draw from these audibles. You tell me. Does it sound like they're sure and they have concrete evidence that Kovalev won the fight? It doesn't sound like that at all. They don't have any empirical basis for the conclusions that they arrived at. It sounds like they came to a conclusion based on emotion, based on a perception. And that's fine. That's fine. Honestly, when I'm watching a fight for the first time, I'm not scoring rounds either. But that's why I'm not hasty to come to a conclusion, because perception is very different from the actual reality of the fight. And this is what I've been speaking on in my other videos, and if you haven't checked them out, subscribe or go check out some of the other misconceptions about the fight that I have, and just other videos covering the fight as well. But this is the problem. People are unable to distinguish between the perception of the fight and the reality of the fight. The perception of the fight is that Kovalev won. And why is that? Why does that perception exist? It's because we as humans, we tend to gravitate towards emphatic moments. When we are having a certain experience and we're done having that experience, it's hard to recall the subtleties, the nuances, the ebbs and flows of that particular experience, right? Because it's in our memory now, and our memory is subject to alterations. Additions can be made that are not true. Certain portions of the memory can be lost. We can't recall it with 100% exactitude. And for that reason, we gravitate towards the most memorable moments, or the most emphatic moments. And without a doubt, unequivocally, Kovalev had the emphatic moments in that fight. He had the jab that landed very heavily and shook up Ward in the first round. He had great moments in the second round, culminating with a beautiful and thudding right hand knockdown of Andre Ward. Right? And then throughout the fight, although Kovalev started to land less and less, whenever he did land, you could see the reaction from Ward in terms of how heavy Kovalev's hands were. So the emphatic moments belong to Kovalev. And for that reason, because we gravitate towards the emphatic moments, our perception of the fight is that Kovalev actually won the fight, or he did the most damage. Now, like I said, when you're watching the fight for the first time and you're not scoring it, this is no problem. This is no problem. This is understandable. This is human nature. No one should be faulted for that. But where we take it too far is where devoid of actual analysis, devoid of actual scoring of the fight, we proceed to conclude that the fight was a robbery. The fight was a robbery. How on God's green earth was that fight a robbery? At the beginning of this video, you hear Larry Merchant. He's going off about it was a hometown decision, and he didn't score the fight, but he saw the fight as a 7-5 type of fight. 7-5. 7-5. That's a 2-round difference. And everybody in the fight world, all fight fans and fight critics, acknowledge that this was a close fight. All the rounds were close. So with a 2-round difference, is it not possible that those 2 rounds can swing Ward's way in a close and highly contested fight? Is that out of the realm of possibility? Is this so much out of the realm of possibility that we have to label it a hometown decision? That we have to call it a robbery? It doesn't make sense. You didn't score the fight, but you saw the fight as a 7-5 kind of fight, and it could have even been a 6-6 kind of fight. So on a round by round basis, it could have been even to you. But it was a robbery. It was a hometown decision. Kovalev, in one of the audio clips I have earlier in this video, I think it's right after the Larry Merchant one, goes up to his manager after the bell of the 12th round and asks him, "Do you think we won?" That is very revealing. Why is there some reservation from Kovalev? Right? Why is there some doubt? Why is he asking this question? Because like Andre Ward says, he knows the reality of the situation. He knows the reality of what took place in that fight. He didn't believe it was a robbery. He didn't believe that he had walked away with that fight. He didn't believe he had blown Andre Ward out of the water. In fact, there were doubts in his head in terms of if he won or not. He didn't know. He did not know. That alone lets you know that this fight was not a robbery. It's only now that he started to sing that tune because fight critics and fight fans are saying it's a robbery. The majority of them. So he's now adopted this belief and internalized it and believes it to be true. The only thing is, the memory of the actual fight, of the reality of the fight, has not been lost on him either. So now he's juggling these two beliefs. And in my previous video, I alluded to this. And I said this is resulting in something called cognitive dissonance. It's a psychology term, where somebody holds two contrasting beliefs, and due to that, there's a bit of stress and tension caused by that. And so now, whenever that's brought up, he's forced to go to an excuse. I did win the fight, but I wasn't fully 100%. I lost my power in round 5. I lost my speed, I lost my energy. He was fighting with an empty Kovalev. You make excuses when you've won a fight? If you clearly and unequivocally believe you've handled the task and you've done what you're supposed to do you then proceed to make excuses? It doesn't make sense. An excuse is only needed if you failed to do something. We need a reason as to why you didn't do something. But you are 100% clear and you're 100% attached to the notion that you destroyed Andre Ward, that you beat him, that it wasn't even close. So why do we need justification for that result? Why do we need an excuse made, a rationalization? It doesn't make sense. And it's because of that stress that's caused by the two contrasting beliefs he holds. He knows the reality of the fight. This alone should let you know that this wasn't a robbery. It wasn't a robbery. And for further confirmation of that, let's take a look at these punch stats, because they are also very revealing. Let's really do our due diligence and see if this was a robbery. Let's look at the numbers. Okay, so for this fight, when we look at total punches landed, let's look at this on a rounds by rounds basis. So Kovalev was able to outland Ward in total punches in rounds 1, rounds 2, rounds 4, round 6, rounds 10, and rounds 12. He was able to outland Ward in those rounds. Ward was able to outland Kovalev in round 3, round 5, round 7, round 8, round 9, and round 11. Both men had rounds where they were significantly outlanding their opponent. Probably Kovalev had the most significant outlanding round in obviously rounds 2, which is a dominant round for him. He landed 16 towards 3 punches. But in turn, Ward was able to have a dominant stretch from round 7 to round 9. In particular, in round 7, he was able to outland Kovalev 11 to 7, and then in rounds 9, 17 to 11. So both men had their rounds. But when we look at the total punches landed on a rounds by rounds basis and we tally up who outlanded who, guess what? We end up coming to a 6 to 6 tie. Essentially, Kovalev was able to outland Ward in 6 of the rounds, and Ward was able to outland Kovalev in 6 of the rounds. So it was a tie. Again, speaking to the fact that this was not a robbery, this was a close fight. When we look at the jabs landed department, we see that Ward and Kovalev tied in round 1. Kovalev was able to win the jabbing department in rounds 2, round 8, round 10, and round 12. Like I said, rounds 1, 3, and 5 were ties for these gentlemen. But Ward won the jabbing contest, or outlanded Kovalev in jabs, in rounds 4, 6, 7, 9, and 11. So Kovalev outlanded Ward in 4 of those rounds in the fight when it came to jabs, and Ward outlanded Kovalev in 5 of the rounds of the fight when it came to jabs. So Ward won the jabbing contest. That is not really surprising. If we know the dispositions of both fighters, we know that Ward is a boxer. And if you've watched Ward specifically, he's a left-handed fighter. He's a lead hand fighter. He jabs. That's his main weapon. So it's not surprising that he's beat Kovalev in this department, even though some of the rounds were very competitive when it came to the jabs. Speaking of dispositions, let's go to power punches. Looks like Kovalev was able to win, or able to outland Ward in power punches in rounds 1, 2, 4, 6, 7, 10, and 11. So in 7 of the 12 rounds, Kovalev outlanded Ward in power punches. And in rounds 3, 5, 8, 9, and 12, Ward outlanded Kovalev in terms of power punches. So it looks like Kovalev won the power punching contest. And again, speaking to disposition, this is not surprising. Kovalev is a power puncher. He's a boxer. I'm not just saying he's just a power puncher. I've obviously debunked that theory, I believe, in my previous video, so you can go and check that out. Kovalev is not just a puncher, but he does carry menacing power, and that's how he gets his opponents out of there. So it's not surprising that he would have outlanded Ward in the power punching department, something that he does very well in. But even at that, he only beat Ward 7 rounds to 5 in terms of outlanding him. And then if you look at the final punch stat report, Kovalev landed 10 more punches than Andre Ward. 10 more. But he seemed to have thrown over 100 more punches than Ward did. And so it speaks to the inefficiency of Kovalev and the defense of Andre Ward. A criteria, by the way, that is used in scoring a fight. You only landed 10 more punches than Ward, which could be attributed to the second round. But you threw over 100 more punches than Andre Ward. Jabs. Ward outlanded Kovalev. And he threw almost 100 less. Power punches. Kovalev outlanded Ward by 17 punches. So Kovalev clearly won the power punching contest. And again, this is probably what we gravitate to as fight fans and fight critics when we're trying to recall the fight, because it's the most emphatic point of the fight, especially when dealing with a power puncher like Kovalev. That's what's going to stick in mind. That's what we're going to remember. But Ward was able to be effective on the punch stat sheet. He was able to land his total punches at 34.4% compared to Kovalev's 26.6%. Total jabs, he was able to outland him 32.7% compared to a connect percentage of 19.8%. And then even in Kovalev's power punching category, Ward was able to out connect him, leading with 36.1% compared to Kovalev's 33.6%. So if we're going to talk about Kovalev's dominance on the power punching side of things, let's also talk about Ward's dominance on the jab side of things and on the connect percentage side of things, and how effective he was defensively. This is what we can draw from the stats, and there's a lot more that can be done. I've really just glossed over it superficially, but this should be enough to let you know that this was no robbery. Those talks have to stop. Now you guys must be wondering how I scored this fight. This was a razor thin decision for either man, I believe. But the way I scored it was 114-113 for Andre Ward. I think the rounds that people tend to miss out on for Andre Ward are rounds 3, because it sort of gets muddied up in the dominant quote-unquote first half that Kovalev had. I disagree with the halves argument, which is another video I made, Misconception #1, Fight of Halves. Check it out. But people tend to miss the round 3 for Andre Ward, which I find baffling, because it's as clear as day that Andre Ward won that third round. What made me so angry was Harold Letterman not even paying attention. He wasn't. They come back after the third round and, okay, Jim, 3 rounds to nothing, Sergey Kovalev. Listen, Ward's not doing anything. He's just Was he watching the third round? Honestly, it was so perplexing. It was like Ward clearly won that third round, but it wasn't taken into account. It had been muddied up in Kovalev's dominance of the first 2 rounds. They weren't even paying attention. They were just giving rounds to Kovalev. It was so upsetting to me, because we started to establish a narrative of the fight, and you could see Harold Letterman had already made up his mind for the entire fight. After rounds 1 and 2, he'd made up his mind as to who the winner was going to be and how the fight was going to play out, because he then proceeded to miss a great 3 comeback rounds by Andre Ward in 7, 8, and 9. He completely missed them and said that Ward had to win the fight on the knockout. But anyways, I digress. Ward won round 3, round 5, 7, 8, 9, 11, and 12. Those were the rounds that he won in my book. 7 rounds to 5. 114 to 113 due to the knockdown, Andre Ward. Now rounds 12, I think, is one that is up for debate because both men did great work in there. I think Andre Ward wanted it more, and I saw that through his ring generalship. He started the round approaching Kovalev and backing him up, throwing a beautiful left hook that bounced Kovalev's head back. Go back and watch the round if you don't believe me. The middle of the round was a great battle between both. Great exchanges, Kovalev getting off great punches, Ward getting off great punches as well. The ending of the round, Ward showed that he wanted it more. He put his stamp on it by firing off 4 body shots before the bell rang. And that to me sealed the deal for Ward. Ward fought all 3 minutes of that 12th round, whereas Kovalev fought really the middle portion of that 12th round. And that's why I had the fight going for Andre Ward, but it could have easily gone to Kovalev. Easily. So I understand that perspective. What I don't understand and what I want to explain as a misconception here is that this is a robbery. There's a difference between the perception of the fight and the actual reality of the fight. And the medium for that difference, how we get to reconcile those differences, is by actually scoring the fight on the 4 set criteria. Believe me, guys, I'm a fan of Andre Ward, but my allegiance to the truth is greater than my allegiance to any one man on this planet. I seek the truth, and if Andre Ward had clearly lost this fight and it was a robbery, I'd be the first one saying it here. But it was far from that. I want you guys to have your allegiances to the truth rather than to any other man. If you're a Ward fan, put the truth before that. If you're a Kovalev fan, put the truth before that. Go and watch the fight and tell me where this is a robbery. Boxing family, leave your comments in the section below. Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? Was this a robbery? Was it the greatest robbery of all time? Is Ward going to get smoked tomorrow? Leave your comments in the section below. If you haven't subscribed, please do. It's the Boxing Doc, signing off.